Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jerry Bulldog Nation, welcome to the Eric Deters Show. As always, we're sponsored by Deters Consulting, Parks Yoga. Check us out on all of our platforms. Well, Nancy Pelosi has been stressing that we need a humanitarian pause. We need a humanitarian pause. She's a crazy lady, and I've got lots of topics where I'm going to address that more. Migrants, Blinken, our Secretary of State, who's a complete loser, says we have a moral responsibility to accept these migrants. Can you imagine the Hamas that's going to come in disguised as a Palestinian migrant? Folks, they got a couple hundred hostages, and they claim that under certain conditions, they would release all the hostages back to Israel. This issue is so incredibly simple. Hamas invades Israel. They go to this festival, hang gliders, everything else. They massacre 1,000 Israelis, Jews, decapitations of babies, gross, detestable, sick, evil things. And that's not enough. They take hostages. And then they say, oh, here, we want to play by these set of rules with diplomacy. It's insane. There should be no diplomacy with them. There should be no negotiations with them. There needs to be mass slaughter of Hamas. By the way, there's 33 dead Americans. 33 dead Americans. The story from the massacre this lady tells is unbelievable. They were told as the attack started to get in your car. They got in their car, but then they were told to run because the cars, they weren't getting out, so they ran. They were going to hide in a ditch. They're glad they didn't stay in a ditch because they found out later that in the ditch, they would all be killed. Initially went to a bathroom. They left that, which is a good thing because they shot and killed everybody in the bathroom. She said there were multiple times they made choices, and their choices that they made ended up being good. They ran for 4 hours, and a truck picked them up and took them to a different town. She's an American, Jewish, Israeli, and the story she tells is like, thousands of others. It's just harrowing. Harrowing. Apparently, Hamas planned this for 2 years in their tunnels with phone lines and everything else. Then you got some of these Hamas bragging. One guy was bragging that he killed 10 Jews with his own hands. By the way, speaking of some migrant poll numbers, not looking good for the Dems. States like New York City and others are not happy at all of what's gone down. By the way, AOC says, let's make it easier for everybody to become a citizenship. Jamie Spinley, my good buddy, came here. He's like 18 years old, went through all the steps to become an American citizen. He's got dual citizenship, British citizenship, American citizenship. You go through the classes, you take the test, you do all those things, you pledge all those things. These people coming over the border aren't doing that. She wants to make it easier. Are you kidding me? It needs to be made harder. Joseph Emerson, the off-duty Alaskan pilot, he was a pirate, facing 83 counts of attempted murder, says that he turned it all off because he thought he was dreaming, blah, blah. Here comes mental illness defense. The Republicans have chosen Louisiana Mike Johnson. Tom Emmert backed out yesterday after being selected by the caucus. And I heard Ronnie Jackson, who I met, the former doctor for the White House, congressman from Texas, he says they're all going to vote for it at noon. We'll see what happens. This doctor, you can't make this up, Sabrina, he's a doctor of poisons. In other words, a specialist in poisons. His wife works at the Mayo Clinic too. He's now charged with murder of poisoning his wife, who also worked in poisoning. Sidney Powell came out yesterday blasting the election, what happened in the elections. In other words, she wasn't very groveling. Now they say Mark Meadows has gotten immunity. And then Jenna Ellis cried and wept and got some kind of deal. Now, I want to tell you something, folks. The fact that any of these folks get immunity, the fact that any of them plead guilty, does not mean anything that they have to say, if anything, doesn't stand up to vigorous cross-examination. They act like if somebody takes immunity or they flip or whatever, that Trump's done. No, it doesn't. I can tell you right now, if Sabrina, quote unquote, or Jamie or Josh, quote unquote, flipped on me, guess what? They know a few bad things I've done, but you know what? They don't know any crimes I've committed. So the fact that they flip doesn't mean anything. All right, Biden is not going to participate in the primary in New Hampshire. He's not going to file. Why? Because they're moving things around. Cohen stared down Trump allegedly in the New York trial yesterday. You heard this guy talk? He's straight out of the central casting for Sopranos. One of the goofballs. I love Trump's team played the COVID card. By the way, they delayed trials all across this country. So, hey, COVID, we need to delay the trial. It didn't work. I think it's fun that they tried to do it. And by the way, speaking of that, Trump is making huge progress in New York. No Republicans won that state since Ronald Reagan 30 years ago. Can he win it? Perry Johnson dropped out of the presidential election and has endorsed Donald Trump. Trump said something the other day. You know, Biden always said he'd take him out of the woodshed. Well, Trump said he'd like to punch Biden. Let's get it on. DeSantis is down 51%. I'll just leave that there. Mary Lou Retton is home recovering from pneumonia. Jamie Dimon, I love this, folks. I love this, folks. How many times have I told all of you that the Fed increasing the interest rate traditionally to stave off inflation is not working based upon all the other factors that are in play here? Guess who came out yesterday? I've been saying this for a year. Jamie Dimon came out, the head of JP Morgan, and said they have been 100% wrong on federal interest rates. They can raise interest rates all they want. It's not going to affect inflation. I'm not the chairman of a bank. 3%, only 3%, Sabrina, have taken the COVID shot, says the CDC. 3%. You think people have learned a little bit? Yeah, I think so. Another Walmart supplier is going to file bankruptcy. People are falling more and more behind on their auto payments. This guy right here got an artificial pig heart. I've been joking. If a Jewish man was given the option of death or a pig heart, what would they choose? I'm going to ask my Jewish buddies. Butter prices are going up, 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 up. By the way, my wife told me yesterday that usually a toilet brush is like $3 or $4, $12. She also said butter usually goes up in price during this time of the year because of the baking season, but not as much as it's going up. Tucker has secured, I forgot to see who it was, his little company that he wants to start, his first ad. See, he's putting the horse in front of the cart. He's not starting until he's got advertisers. Me, I'm doing it the opposite. I'm putting the cart before the horse. I'm doing this all on my dime to get it rolling. Then I'll worry about ads. The FDA wants to ban menthol cigarettes. Tell you a little story. My Uncle Jerry, my dear Uncle Jerry, who Josh quotes me all the time about, chain smoked Lucky Strike cigarettes, no filter, all his whole life, okay? When he did smoke a cigarette that had the filter, he always took the filter off and smoked it without it. He said, the tobacco don't kill you, it's what's in those filters that kill you. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to the Eric Deters Show local news, sponsored by Deters Consulting Park Show. Go check us out on all of our platforms. Well, in law and crime, Travis Marks, this guy right here, 44 years old, shot and killed a Stephen Stamati, 72. The cars were Ewing and 42, and apparently it's a road rage incident. So who the hell knows what happens? Who knows what Stephen Stamatis did or said, but unless he pulled a gun, Travis Marks in trouble. He's been charged with murder. DoorDash murder. This is scary stuff. FC Cincinnati couple, Jason McKinnon, who ended up dying. He and his wife leave an FC game. DoorDash comes up. They get in an argument with not the DoorDash driver, but the DoorDash boyfriend, who gets out of his car, chokes to death Jason McKinnon outside an FC Cincinnati game. Folks, I'm telling you right now, people think I'm crazy. I don't like going downtown at all. In local news, Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio are 3 states that are suing Meta, and the basis of the lawsuit is that they have been very, very evil in what they've posted and how they've handled things relative to children's mental health. Hope they win. There's been a complaint filed against PureVol, really beautiful ad that he's running saying, hey, support issue 22, let's sell this railroad. But it sure does sound like a campaign commercial. He's just saying he's doing his job. Really? I guarantee you in a private conversation PureVol's having with his team is like, this is great. Guarantee it. Ludlow Schools expanding their schools, broke ground yesterday. Congratulations to Ludlow School System. In Kentucky, the final debate was yesterday. They've had 5 debates, has not moved the needle at all. 70% of those released early in Kentucky commit more crimes. Yikes. In Ohio news, 2 juveniles were shot in Millvale. No word whether or not they're going to survive or not. I mean Penny, 20, threw a Molotov cocktail, Jamie, in the community church at Chesterland. Why? Their position on LBGT. Crazy. Dr. Stephen Haim, I got sources say he's a good guy, is the new Xavier Medical School dean. They are going to have a school of osteopath. It's really the same as medicine. Union Institute University, lawsuits, eviction notices, everything else in Walnut Hills. Lots of trouble. More on Judge Ted Bear. I just want to show you the picture of the woman and the picture of the alleged knife marks. A judge ought to be able to date a better quality of a woman. Come on, Ted. By the way, I got to go back to Ted Berry. I want to just say this about Ted. My daughter, Erica, was trying her first case in his courtroom. And I go over and I go back in chambers. I BS with him. I'm nice to him. By the way, we have a conversation about a woman who I knew that he was dating at the time that ended up being a kleptomaniac. So, Jamie, you can't make this up. They'd be at a restaurant. She would steal stuff from the freaking restaurant. Get caught and almost arrested. She's dating a judge. That's why I'm saying better quality of a woman. She was a kleptomaniac. So anyway, we're talking. He's very nice to me, okay? I go out and watch my daughter. Can't make this up. I videotape and record audio tape Erica. The bailiff comes over, is mean and nasty to me. I turn it off. Well, I ended up getting some of it. He found out I got some of it. He actually threatened me with contempt and jail for it. Thus, my good relationship with Ted Berry ended. You believe that? Not allowing a father to record the closing argument of his daughter's first trial. Really? See, there should be exceptions to rules. All right. Illegal migrant workers, apparently dozens of them at Gerber's Poultry up in Ohio. It's a catch-22, folks. They need workers. They can't be illegals. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day.
Hello again. You're watching Eric Deters World News in 60 seconds. I'm Jamie Spinley. Today's latest headlines. More than 700 Palestinians have been killed by Israelis' airstrike in the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours. Israel military said it struck 400 terror targets and killed several Hamas commanders over the same period. It has also declared that it would not reduce its attacks despite Hamas' release of another 2 hostages. Listen this, authorities in Costa Rica are investigating the disappearance of $6.2 million from the country's national bank, Banco Nacional. It's the largest case of its kind in Costa Rica's history. Gangsters have reportedly set at least 35 buses on fire in Rio de Janeiro after a crime boss known as Man of War was killed by police in an operation. The attack took place to the west of the Brazilian city, where opposing criminal gang fights for territorial control. Military police said it arrested 12 suspects involved in the fires and prevented 15 people from setting a cargo truck ablaze in one of the city's main gateways. And Hurricane Otis has made landfall on the coast of southern Mexico, bringing wind speeds of a staggering 165 miles per hour. It touched down near the popular resort of Acapulco. The storm has already begun to weaken as it moves inland. Until tomorrow, thank you for watching Every Deters World News. Cheerio.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to Sports Without Boundaries. Major League Baseball, American League, National League series both win 7 games. Last night, the Diamondbacks beat the Phillies 4-2. The Diamondbacks took 2 games at Philadelphia's home field, and the Phillies, the great hitting team that they are, only scored 3 runs in 2 games. I mean, this is nuts. It's like the Rangers beat the Astros all 4 games in Houston. Crazy. Brandon Pfaadt, this is kind of going viral, was seen reading the Bible before he went out and pitched. Every pitcher in America is going to start doing that, Josh Wentz. Chris Mad Dog Rousseau says he will retire if Arizona Diamondbacks make the World Series. All right, Mad Dog. You know he's not going to. That's what he said. Dusty Baker is going to retire as the Houston Astros manager. He wants to stay in the game and do something else. Mattress Mac, the Houston area businessman who gambles and wins a lot on the Astros, based on his bets, they think he's going to lose $7 million on the Astros going down. He didn't look very happy watching the game. NBA began last night, opening night. Denver, the returning reigning champs, whooped up on the Lakers 119-107. And the Suns beat the Warriors 108-104. The 4 best teams in the West going at it. The Nuggets also got their rings last night, and they raised the banner to the rafters. In NHL games, Rangers 3, Flames 1, Kings 3, Coyotes 1, Ducks 3, Blue Jackets 2 in overtime. The game was delayed because of a power outage. Bruins 3, Blackhawks 0, Jets 4, Blues 2, Golden Knights 3, Flyers 2. It's official. Jake Paul and Nate Diaz aren't going to box. They're going to fight a UFC fight. Go Nate. River City Mortgage got together with some other investors. This is the head of River City Mortgage. And they created a Southern Indiana FC, which is a minor league team to the Premier League. The Eagles have traded for Kevin Byard for a safety. He's an all-pro safety, and they got a lot of injuries. Marvin Jones, formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals, now with the Detroit Lions, is stepping away for some family issues. UFC's made it official. Bud Light. Josh Wentz, can you imagine the money Anheuser-Busch is forking out to these type of deals to try to get Bud Light back? It's costing them a fortune. This is wild. USC, Lincoln Riley, who was at Oklahoma, is out sick. Well, Cliff Kingsbury, who most recently coached the Arizona Cardinals, was signed on as the offensive coordinator. So Lincoln is out, Kingsbury is in. By the way, with that kind of staff, wow. The offense, but guess what? Their quarterback, thought to be a Heisman Trophy, can't beat a good team. Chris Olave, I tell you right now, I like this guy. Ohio State player, he gets arrested for DUI in New Orleans. He goes, man, don't you know I'm a New Orleans Saint? Now, I want to say something. Some people would say that's big timing. You know what? I don't blame the guy. When Cincinnati Bengals would get arrested for DUI up here, now this might make some of you guys' head explode, but I don't care. I'm being honest about it. I always thought to myself, man, if I was a cop and I pulled over a Bengal or a Red, I wouldn't arrest them and embarrass them. I'd say, come on. I would give them special treatment. I mean, if you are one of the stars on your city team, why not give them special treatment? But they don't do it. All right, safety Jackson of the Denver Broncos, the NFL has reduced his 4-game suspension to 2. Dion on stealing signs, he says, you still got to stop them. And Jerry Jones says he would stretch to help his team right now. Wow. Dallas Cowboys looking to do some trading. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to Pop Culture Show. And we lead off with a good one. This man right here was found. He was believed dead. He was missing for days. And when they found him, he had a McDonald's biscuit with him. He packed a canteen and McDonald's biscuits, I guess. This guy right here has got a pig heart. I wonder if a Jewish man was lying, dying, and needed a heart transplant, and they offered him a pig heart, what would they do? I'm going to ask my Jewish friends what they would do. Mattress Mac, this Astros Houston area businessman, bets a lot on the Astros. He's believed to have lost about $7 million last night. He doesn't look very happy, does he? This is a wild marriage. Kurt Cobain's daughter married Tony Hawk's son, and it was officiated by Michael Stipe, lead singer of REM. Is that wild?
That's crazy.
Who all came to that party?
Yeah.
Jerry O'Connell, this is hysterical. He's married to Rebecca Romijn. Stamos did a tell-all biography and whatnot and said how she wrecked his life and blah, 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 but it made him a better person. Jerry O'Connell actually said this. Me and Rebecca were shocked and surprised that Rebecca would be mentioned in the book. What? He was married to her. You know what? Rogan is saying the same thing that I've been saying forever. The late night folks aren't funny. David Chappelle's causing a ruckus. He defended Israel and bashed Israel for what's going on in Gaza Strip. People walked out of his shingding. Mary Lou Retton is home, and she's going to be okay. UFC is taking a whole bunch of money from Anheuser-Busch to make Bud Light their beer. Ready for this? If you drink coffee, they say it helps you keep your mental faculties late in life. My dad used to drink 4 freaking cups of coffee a day. And you know what they say? It's the caffeine. Now, I take pure grade caffeine because I hate the taste of coffee. But I'm telling you right now, all you coffee drinkers, if I was Starbucks, I would do a commercial with this. Live longer, live sharper, drink coffee. The Eras Tour. Well, it was a big hit, but it is down 63% after the first week. She still made like $35 million. Tanya Tucker, guess what? She's in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They've announced those people who are going to play. It includes a whole bunch of A-listers. We'll give you a full report of who's in and who's out next week. Rest in peace, Shaft. Richard Roundtree died at 81. Shaft. Somebody said they went to a party back in the day to Hulk Hogan's house, and the gumball machine had drugs in it. Now, I've got to say something about these people like Hulk Hogan, and they live their lives, and at the end of their lives, you know, they may not have as much money. Can you imagine the stories? People like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Hulk Hogan, all these people, Richard Roundtree, Tanya Tucker, sit around and talk about. Can you imagine? I always used to give this, let's make this a cut. How about this? I used to, this little test, I'd say, would you rather be Pete Rose or Carl Lindner? And all the fuddy-duddies always said Carl Lindner, so they could be rich. All the people like me said Pete Rose. Jamie, Pete Rose or Carl Lindner? Whose life do you choose?
Pete Rose.
Josh?
Pete.
I mean, come on, man. How many funny-ass stories does Carl Lindner have sitting around? Remember that time we stole some ice cream from Uncle Joe? Pete, can you imagine that? Well, I know because I hung out with Pete for an entire week on a business deal, and it was hilarious. I got to know Pete. If Pete sees me, he knows who I am. He goes, Bono! I say, Pete! Anyway, a gumball machine with drugs. That was a party. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day. Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to another episode of Eric Deters, the Law. As all of you know, I'm a retired attorney, but I'm allowed to do educational videos about the law. As long as you're not paying me money and me doing work for that money, it's not the unauthorized practice of law. And I love doing these. And just so you know, they're going to be up on social media, all on one site. We're putting together a website for the same thing. I have done over the years hundreds and hundreds of law videos, and we're going to put them all together in one site, index them for you. If you ever need me, email me at eric@ericdeters.com, text me at 859-250-2527. All right, DUI, driving under the influence. I would like to begin by telling you when I was a young lawyer and I looked like I was 16 and I was 22, my very first trial in the courtroom was a DUI trial, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. The judge said, "Are you ready, Mr. Deters?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't know like who went first even. And I'm not going to use his name, but I remember his name. You're going to love this, folks. I represented a man who, can't make this up, blew a .28, wrecked into 3 cars, and he drove a beer truck for a living. And I got him the minimums. We went to trial. I got him the minimums. And the prosecutor, Sarah Sidebottom, and Judge Schmedeke thought I had pulled it off. It was tried between Christmas and New Year's, and I gave this speech about having a little bit of Christmas spirit and how important it was to the guy. They almost acquitted him. Instead, they found him guilty. But I used to try a lot of these cases. I also tried the longest DUI trial in the history of these parts, maybe in Kentucky. And it was a DUI trial of my client, Susan Stimler, who was wrongfully arrested by the Boone County Police and Florence Police way back when. And the trial lasted 3 days. It was a hung jury, only because I polled the jury. Can't make this up. Out of the 6 jurors, 2 of the jurors were Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Both voted not guilty. They thought it was it was supposed to be a majority, but it was unanimous. I tried that case again and won it. So that trial took me 6 trials. DUI trials are usually over in a day. I think it's the longest DUI trial in history. Now, I haven't tried a DUI trial in a long time. But what I'm going to give you here is rock solid advice. Still to this day. Number 1, don't drink and drive. There is absolutely no excuses for you to get a DUI today. You're out with friends, let them drive you. You've got Uber, taxis. You've got so many options to drive. You should not drive. And folks, let me tell you something. If you think it's inconvenient going back to get your car the next day, it's a hell of a lot more inconvenient to get bailed out of jail. There's no excuses, none, for getting a DUI these days. All right, you get pulled over, all right? Now, what I'm about ready to tell you flies in the complete face of the advice that was given by Stephen R. Adams, who, God bless his soul, was killed in a bicycle accident. And he said, don't give them anything, don't cooperate, don't say anything, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know why Stephen R. Adams wanted you to do that? Because it pretty much ensured that you were going to get arrested, you were going to have a pre-court automatic license suspension, and he would make you make a lot of money doing it. I'm being serious. Stephen R. Adams wanted you to do that. It had nothing to do with you giving the police, the popo, information. So I'm going to give you my advice if you're ever pulled over for a DUI. If you're pulled over for a DUI and you legitimately, by the way, they don't have to read you your Miranda rights. That's only a custodial interrogation, not for a traffic stop. People ask that. That's one of the first questions I used to always get asked. They didn't read me my rights. Doesn't matter. Now, you got to show your license, your insurance. You got to do it. They're going to be observing you all the way. The biggest thing is smell of alcohol. Folks, if you're driving home and you smell of alcohol, that's on you. Come on, you shouldn't smell of alcohol. Mints, mouthwash, brush your teeth, whatever, but you shouldn't be driving anyway. But the bottom line is, your best move is to fully cooperate with the police officer. Why? They always remember how you treated them. So the deal that you're going to get is going to be better. Field sobriety tests. They are crazy. And I can tell you that most good trial lawyers can attack those. Now, you got to remember, unlike back in the day, the video cameras are on. The dash cam he's got going, he's got his lapel camera. This is all getting recorded. You've seen them. You saw Lisa Wells, Bob Huggins. Everybody gets embarrassed. You're Chris Olave, New Orleans Saint. You get pulled over. It's all being recorded. I once won a trial because the video clearly showed my guy was not very drunk. Now, not drunk at all. Now, the videos are good. You know why? Because what's on the videotape, you got to get your plea, get it over with, whatever. Now, field sobriety tests, because they're crazy, stand on one leg, walk on one. Well, a lot of people, if you've got something going on, you can attack that. Like, hey, he's got bad knees. And just to let you know, I attack the horizontal nystagmus gaze test, where they hold up a pen in your eyes and you go like this. It is a total BS test. So don't worry about the field sobriety tests. Why? Your lawyer can attack those pretty much, unless you fall down drunk. All right. Blood alcohol. The blood alcohol, they keep reducing it. And depending on what state you're in, you know what that blood alcohol level is. Most states now it's 0.08. Sometimes it's dropped to 0.05. By the way, for minors, it's even less. You get pulled over a minor, you shouldn't have any alcohol in you. So it's even less. But your blood alcohol test, the other thing that you can attack in a blood alcohol is the machine. Was the machine done and all that? Now, the reason why you don't want to refuse the blood, by the way, there's going to be some exceptions. I'm going to tell you the exceptions. You don't want to refuse the blood alcohol test. Why? States have laws where if you refuse the breathalyzer, you get an automatic license suspension. Do you want an automatic license suspension? If you don't refuse, you're going to drive home from jail. You're going to drive to work the next day. The administrative suspension sucks. It's been found constitutional. Driving is a privilege, not a constitutional right. It's all been found constitutional. The reason why you don't listen to Stephen R. Adams' bullshit advice is so you don't get an administrative suspension. Your least of your worries is a DUI. Let me tell you a reason why. I recently helped out a buddy of mine. He gets a DUI. He sends me the ticket. I get the ticket. I said, do not hire a lawyer. If you go hire a lawyer out there on your basic DUI, they're going to charge you a couple $1,000, at least $1,000. The poor lawyers will charge you $1,000. They're going to charge you a couple $1,000. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to plead you guilty. They're going to ask for discovery. They're going to do this. Blah, 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 blah. You go to an arraignment. You go to a pre-trial. You have your trial. Okay? I guided my friend through this. By the way, this isn't the unauthorized practice law. He's my buddy. I didn't take money. I'm allowed to do this. I said, based on your ticket, you're entitled to minimums. Go plead not guilty. This is what I'm telling all of you to do. Go to your arraignment, plead not guilty. Then you're going to set it for a pretrial conference. At the pretrial conference, you get to talk to the prosecutor. Say, hey, I talked to a few people. Can I get the minimums? Prosecutor's going to say, yep. You're going to plead guilty to the minimums. You're going to walk out of there, and you just saved yourself $1,000 or $2,000. That's exactly what the lawyer's going to do. What's the minimums? Small fine, 90 days or 6 months suspension, but you get your driver's license back after 30 days for work hardship. So you basically got to go 30 days inconvenience. But that's the same thing a lawyer. Now, to get this, another really good friend of mine calls me. Son got a DUI. I looked at the ticket, same thing. I said, don't hire a lawyer. You're going to get the minimums. He wouldn't listen to me. Well, it kind of offended me a little bit. By the way, my friend listened to me. His wife didn't. And they hired a lawyer. Guess what happened, Jamie and Josh? They paid $2,000, and guess what the result was? The minimums. All right? But the reason why you don't want to refuse is you don't want the administrative suspension. Now, in most things in life, there are the exceptions. And when I'm about ready to tell you, Stephen R. Adams would say, oh, Bulldog's crazy, but I'm not. Let's shoot straight. Josh Wentz and Jamie, if you don't mind me calling you out, both of you back in your young days got a DUI. It's not all the end of the world. It's happened to everybody. There but the grace of God goes I. I drove back in the day, this was in early 90s. I drove when I shouldn't have driven a few times. Thank God, no wrecks, no DUIs. I got to ask you guys this question. When you got pulled over, did you kind of know you were drunk?
Actually, honestly, no.
Okay, you didn't think you were. Josh? Josh, you knew you're drunk. Okay. All right, now that comes up with the exceptions of what I'm trying to tell you is, in my opinion, you freaking know. You know if you've drank too much. You know if you're under the influence. You know. Now, get this. This is a funny story. Do you know the number one thing? They've done studies on this. The number one thing that people say when they asked, have you been drinking? They always say a couple or one or a few. They never say 4, 5. They say that every freaking time. By the way, back to that case where I had the longest DUI trial. One of the things, it had to do with civil litigation. It was a wrongful death case. It was big time. It took me 10 years to get these people justice, get them a couple $1 million. This woman had died at the hands of the cops. You can't make this up. The cops never saw this coming. I went out to the Boone County Clerk's Office archives, spent a week down in the basement, and I pulled every damn ticket that every one of these cops wrote out on DUIs. You know what's written out first in every one of their tickets? Smelled of alcohol. Why was that important? Because in the case that I had, they didn't do that. It was pretty good evidence. All right. But here's the big exception. If you are in an accident, you're in an accident, just yourself, somebody's with you, a passenger, somebody's hurt, God forbid there's injuries or there's a death, you do not want to do anything. No field sobriety tests, no breathalyzer. You refuse everything if there's an accident with injuries or a death. Refuse it. By the way, if you go to the hospital and you're knocked out, they will get a search warrant to take your blood against your will. That's also been tested constitutional. But here's the thing. Even when they do that, you can call these experts and your blood takes that alcohol, and they have these studies where how long it takes to process 1 drink, 2 drink, 3 drink. So the longer you go, hopefully your blood alcohol is decreasing. So the longer it takes them to get your blood, the better chance you got that your blood alcohol level was coming down, is going to be lower. But here's why you refuse. If there's an accident and somebody's hurt or God forbid somebody's died, it is harsher punishments. And if somebody dies, you're talking at least reckless homicide, 5 years in the state pen. And I tell people this all the time. If there's if you're sloshed and there's a wreck, refuse everything. And I always tell this, the reason why you don't want to drink and drive at all, guys, is it's not a DUI. Somebody gets killed, you're facing reckless homicide. You will serve at least 1 year in a state prison. And that is if there's not extenuating circumstances, manslaughter, everything else. Fines and lawyers. Fines are always minimal. Lawyers, I've already explained why you don't want to hire a lawyer. If you got to go to trial, like if you think you can beat it, you need to hire a lawyer. Then maybe it's worth his ilk to do something about it. Folks, lawyers love DUIs because it's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. They take your money and they plead you guilty. Don't do it. Just get the minimums on your own. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day.